Welcome to 3 Point Stands presented by Mountain Dew. Meghan, Triplett, John Roser here with you to wrap up the weekend that was. And oh my gosh, was it a weekend? Let's start in the NFL and let's just stay in the NFL, Roser. A lot happened. Let's talk about the AFC Championship game. Kansas City, Cincinnati Bengals. Kansas City was up 21-3 at one moment, but then Cincinnati was able to defeat the Chiefs in OT. I mean, did this game tell us more about the Chiefs' offense or lack thereof on offense in the second half? Or were you more impressed with how Cincinnati was able to stop the Chiefs' offense in the second half?
I think you have to be more impressed with Cincinnati's defense. Holding that Kansas City team to 3 points in the second half and overtime is crazy, because one of the things I've always said is you're not going to beat Kansas City kicking field goals. Mm-hmm. And they kicked field goals. You know, they didn't score. It wasn't like they scored 6 touchdowns. They scored a couple of touchdowns and they kicked 3 or 4 field goals. That's usually not the recipe to beating Kansas City. I mean, even Buffalo the previous week scored all touchdowns and it wasn't enough to beat them. So you typically need touchdowns. That second half performance was, I know the story is Joe Burrow and Cool Joe, and he is cool and everything, and how he is as laid back and relaxed as it gets, and is so poised out there for a second-year guy. But the Bengals defense, to me, won that game, and that's an epic implosion by Kansas City. Mahomes was a nightmare at the end of that. I mean, just a nightmare. He didn't know what to do, which is very weird for a guy who's won a Super Bowl to look like that.
Yeah, especially because when you think about Patrick Mahomes, when he does scramble, there's still another option. You still don't want him to have those moments to get the extra time. And the defense was able to just stop the receivers, stop anything that could happen down the field. You're like, I mean, the play calling, when they had a chance at 1st and goal with under 2 minutes left, I really thought this is over. And then you're all thinking, okay, they're going to wait until 3rd down because they want to take some more time off the clock. And that was the stop. That was the stop that was like, wait a second, there's a chance. But then you had the coin toss, Roser, and everyone was talking about, okay, here we come down to another coin toss situation. And we stopped talking about it because the Bengals defensively were able to get a stop. And that is what you want to see in overtime to give your offense a chance to get the ball. I was perplexed and speechless of how they're able to stop Patrick Mahomes. And we have not seen Patrick Mahomes look like that before, because normally he can get this team together offensively. But my, oh my, this Cincinnati defense, I think that's the topic of the storyline of the whole entire story. And now you're looking at, you got to take on the Los Angeles Rams. We're all looking at that defense now. And that's something that we didn't think we were going to be talking about. We thought we'd be talking about Joe Burrow offensively. He was great. But the last impression was the defense.
No, the last impression was, and I think the impression that I have from the second game was defense too. Mm-hmm. It was the defense of the Rams. The defense of the Rams was better than I expected them to be. They stopped our running game, and I did not expect them to be able to do that, but they did. Credit to them. They made adjustments from the first 2 times we played them and just said, look, we're going to put more guys on the defensive line and just not allow that to happen. So I think some of the stories are, it's the Cincinnati defense, and then I think the Rams defense. And I know the story is all, but I know because the quarterback position matters so much. It is Matthew Stafford spending so much time in Detroit, and now he gets to go to a team that actually is like really trying to win and has trying to really good players, and he goes to the Super Bowl in his first year. And then, the same with Joe Burrow being the quarterback, they're going to be the stories. But I think, if we move to number 2 here, talking about the Rams and the Niners, and you just let me kind of say my piece on it, I thought the Rams defense in the fourth quarter was outstanding. I know people are going to say the 49ers had a 10-point lead entering the fourth quarter and they blew it like that. The Rams were on our 20-yard line when the fourth quarter started. They ran 2 plays and scored in the fourth quarter. So, essentially we had a 3-point lead, with 13 and a half minutes left in the game. That's anybody's ball game, and anybody can win that. And their defensive line had not gotten after us, had not gotten after Jimmy at all the first 3 quarters. They had not gotten after him at all. They had pressured him 4 times the entire game in the first 3 quarters. They pressured him 7 times, 7 out of 9 dropbacks in the fourth quarter. They got after him. Could have our play calling have been a little bit different? Maybe. Could we have done some timeout stuff differently? Maybe. Could we have gone for it on 4th and 2? Yes. Could Jaquaski Tart have caught an interception? Yes. But I think the Rams were the better team. And our defense was dead tired, was dead. They were almost out there for 80 points. They were dead tired.
They look gassed. They definitely look gassed, especially there in the last like 5 minutes of that game. Roser, I have to get your stance though on what does this say as a Niners fan? You look at the season and, a lot of people counted you out and shocked that you got so far the way that you got, and so many conversations about Jimmy Garoppolo. When you watch that game overall, what does this say about the season overall? And what did you take about your overtake about Jimmy Garoppolo, especially because the last play on your mind?
Yeah, no. I love Jimmy. Because he helped get us to a Super Bowl. He's not perfect by any means. I will always love Colin Kaepernick because he got us to a Super Bowl. And he's not a perfect quarterback by any means either. But it appears that was Jimmy's last game in a 49ers jersey because they've got to pay Deebo Samuel and Nick Bosa, and you're going to pay those guys before you want to keep Jimmy Garoppolo's $25 million on the contract on the books. So, it is what it is with him. That's life. You're a Titans fan, it's the same way with Tannehill. Like they're not like Jimmy and Tannehill are not bad quarterbacks. They're not awful. They're middle of the pack guys. And if you've got a
Ryan Tannehill is a little bit better than Jimmy Garoppolo, but I'll give you that. I get where you're going. I'm going to give Tannehill.
You have an explosive weapon on the outside with AJ Brown. You've got an all-pro running back in Derrick Henry. You've got a good defensive line that can rush the passer. You've got good defensive players. The same with the 49ers. We have an elite defensive line and pass rush. We've got Fred Warner at linebacker, is one of the best. Nick Bosa is one of the 3 best pass rushers in the league. Fred Warner is one of the 3 best linebackers in the league. George Kittle is one of the top 2-3 tight ends in the entire NFL. Deebo Samuel was an all-pro this year. We run the ball in a million different ways. We've got the best left tackle in the league in Trent Williams. So you have an average quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo or Ryan Tannehill. You can win games. You're going to win games.
But does that last play?
But can you get over the hump? And that's where it just doesn't seem like you can.
But does that last play, did that change anything about your thoughts of Jimmy Garoppolo?
I know. I texted my buddy 10 minutes before and I said, I feel horrible about this game because Jimmy hasn't thrown a pick yet. And then literally we got the ball at the end of the game and he threw the pick and I said, there it is. There's always one. There's always one.
So you were already expecting a pick, but the fact that it happened.
Yeah, I mean, he could have thrown like 3 others throughout that game. Okay. There were a couple of times he could have. So
you have a clock. How much time do we have for our last dance?
We got about 2 minutes.
Okay. Saturday, the biggest news coming out, or we think that came out, we're not quite sure, is Tom Brady.
We don't know what's happening with it.
Tom Brady has decided to retire. That came out. Adam Schefter and ESPN reported that out. But then you had a couple hours later, you have the agent come out saying, like, not so fast. When it's accurate, you'll hear it from Tom Brady, Bruce Arians saying, like, Tom Brady hasn't told me anything like that. His dad coming out saying, like, that's not true. And now we're sitting here. Did he retire? Did he not retire? What do you think? Or is he going to retire?
I think he was upset that it got out. Mm-hmm. I think he was planning to retire. Adam Schefter's not reporting that for nothing. Right. Like, Adam Schefter doesn't. It started like a day or two before. The guy who has been to Brady's quarterbacks coach for like the last several years, like even when he was like all the way back to New England and everything, like he been his quarter. Apparently, the reports are that he started putting out feelers to, like, he's calling like Joe Burrow's reps and like Josh Allen's reps and all these young quarterbacks because like he needs work because Brady's probably retiring. And so I think he got upset that he wanted to break it on his own terms. He wanted to go out on his own terms and wanted to announce it himself and was probably putting together a video. But too many people start knowing about it and it starts to leak out because when Tom Brady says he wants to retire, news is going to leak out because it's a massive, massive story because you're talking about the greatest player, the greatest football player of all time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he got upset he's upset that it got out. It wasn't how he wanted to happen. It's just very odd because normally ESPN, they all work kind of, all media work together and you want to do the right thing for the individual and the actual player. So that's the weird part. Now we're all just sitting waiting saying like, well, how is he going to do it? Because now it does take a little bit away from it. It's still going to be big news when he does retire, but we already ran all the packages. We've already seen several players come out and say, thank you, Tom Brady. It's been great. So now it's just a very weird thing. And
I will say Tom Brady deserves to announce that on his own terms.
He did. He
deserves that.
I agree with you. He is a GOAT. He deserved that. And I hate that it was taken away from him. But now we wait and see. He definitely is retiring. So we'll wait and see what happens. And that is all the time we have for this edition of 3 Point Stands presented by Mountain Dew.